Alexander Isak has become Newcastle's talisman, but it all started from a place, like many people do, working your way up from pretty much nothing, immigrating to Sweden at a very young age from North Africa. Isak lit the football world alight, starting at a very young age, signing for his first club, AIK Football, in the Swedish league. Isak would regularly game football after his initial great start in the Cups, then making his way throughout the league and becoming one of their all-time best ever scorers. He then got called up for the Swedish national team and became their youngest ever scorer, people comparing him to the likes of Ibrahimovic. He was attracting big club names, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Chelsea, but no, he would look to the place that has grew a lot of wonderkids in recent time, Borussia Dortmund. And by their CV, you would expect Isak would absolutely succeed and excel at this club. That wasn't to be the case. Isak made 4 starts in his second season, 1 start in his first season. He had barely any game time, loaned out to the Eredivisie, and then finally moving to Real Sociedad after unsuccessful spells at Dortmund and being placed in the under-18 camp. This is where he was able to prove himself, still very much a young kid, but Real Sociedad gave him the reins. He was their main man, and he had a great start, winning the Copa del Rey for Real Sociedad. The world had their eyes on him. He consistently provided goal after goal, assists, and then called up to the Euro 2020 squad, where he would be able to show his skills on the world stage. And despite Sweden being knocked out by Ukraine, he provided 2 assists, and the way he played the game attracted many big clubs once again. This is where he would look for his next move. Some may say Liverpool, some may say Real Madrid, some may say Chelsea, but no, he went to the Turn, man. And this is where Isak's career has really took off. Their record-breaking signing, Alexander Isak, was here, and he was on the charge to get Newcastle back to where they belong. So Alexander Isak, born out of realistically poverty in most sense, and made himself a name for football after, I believe, realising that a lot of kids are getting dropped out of school. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to put all my effort into football. I'm going to play the beautiful game like many of us want to do. And it's Alexander Isak, the man they compared to Ibrahimovic. Tall, lanky, not quite the same ethnicity, but it doesn't matter because that man has absolutely stormed through the footballing ranks, to be honest. He's at Newcastle at the moment. His story, going from a small club in Sweden, then to Real Sociedad, ultimately not doing too well in Dortmund, and then really finding himself at Newcastle and being the main man. It's what football is all about. And there's so many stories like this, you know. We've covered Mo Salah. We've covered the managers as well, Arne Slot. They've all had to train up and earn their skills to then showcase them on the big stage. And Alexander Isak is no exception to that. He has done absolutely phenomenal. Where does this leave him now? In Newcastle? Well, we'll see his journeys later on. But that man is pretty quick, pretty agile, and the consistency that he's shown in his career is truly remarkable. Hasn't had too many injuries and has been able to, you know, even when he's had a few games where he might have not scored as many goals as you'd have liked him to, pretty much throughout his career he's been pretty consistent, apart from Dortmund, where they didn't give him the opportunities. They might have saw opportunities in Jude Bellingham and Erling Haaland and Jadon Sancho, but they missed the trick with Alexander Isak, and ultimately he showcased them skills at Real Sociedad, and now he's showcasing them at the place from up north. Oi, man! And we all know the story from here, do we? He impressed at Newcastle almost immediately, scoring against big teams before later getting injured for Sweden and sitting 4 months out for Newcastle. But he would come back with a bang, leading them to a top 4 spot and ultimately playing Champions League football. The Geordies loved it, and Newcastle were once again big time. Obviously, they didn't make it out of the group stages, beating PSG, but ultimately falling short. But Isak holds a big place in the Newcastle hearts, and he is their main man. 100 million plus they say they want for him if he was to leave. But I don't think this man's going anytime soon. Newcastle reaching a Carabao Cup final against Man United, and now later against Liverpool this season. Isak has been on fire, scoring goal after goal after goal. And the amount of players that Newcastle have been able to bring in, high-profile players, the Bruno Guimaraes, the Tonali, Alexander Isak, his pace, his speed, his strength. He is one of the best strikers in the Premier League, and he is now showing the world what he is all about. So the Geordies have been the ones to acquire Isak's skills, shot power, the lot. And they are the one who, out of all of them, Liverpool and all these people looking at him at Real Sociedad, grabbed him by the balls and said, come here, son. And they have got an absolute, you could say bargain, it's 60 million, all right? But for what he has done at the club, one of the best strikers in the Premier League, and led Newcastle to multiple improvements, you could say. The Champions League, you know, a cup final, it's brilliant. And for Isak to finally get his say on the big stage, winning the Premier League Player of the Month a couple of times, as well as Newcastle being on the rise with their new owners, it fits perfectly. You know, a player who wants to prove himself and a club who wants to improve themselves as well. It's very good, and it's a testament to Newcastle's recruitment and the team they've built to, you know, get these players to buy in the project. But Alexander Isak is a star man, and he's shown that in the Euros, where that was his first real taste of the world stage, and people was like, wow, this man is going to go far. Where will he go next? I don't know. But Newcastle have got a man who is excellent. The goals he has scored for them and the way he fits into the team, you know, counter-attacking football. He can even play with his feet. That makes no sense. You know what I mean? He can have the ball and he can give and go, and he is a bit better at dribbling than the likes of, say, Haaland, the classic number 9. He has got that ability to go in behind, run at the attackers, but then also do a little bit of dribbling, find the spare man and give a great opportunity to them. It works really well, and I think Newcastle is a perfect fit for him. Whether he goes elsewhere later in life, we'll have to find out. But for now, Alexander Isak and Newcastle are a match made in heaven. He is unstoppable. But will Isak go elsewhere? He could potentially use Newcastle as a stepping stone, or will he become a club legend there? Obviously, Newcastle have an exciting project. They want trophies, and I believe Isak will stay until they do win a trophy. But say if the likes of maybe a Liverpool, maybe a Real Madrid, maybe a Barcelona came knocking, and they offered that 100 million, would he be tempted? I think he would. I don't know if he would definitely go. You'd have to ask the Geordies that. But there is definitely clubs that could potentially be more successful and give him success at a quicker rate. But then it's the age-old saying of, do you become a club legend and reach those 3-4 trophies for that club that you love so much? Or do you go elsewhere and look for more quicker success? The world is in Alexander Isak's hands, and I think the Newcastle fans absolutely adore him. The man has got himself onto the big stage. He'll be hunting for them trophies. Does his allegiance lie in Newcastle, or will his eyes wander in the next few years, searching for something bigger? Now, where will Alexander Isak go next? Will his eyes be turned? Will his head be turned? We're not on Love Island. I think he will stay for another few years. Whether Newcastle gave him to sign a new contract extension, who knows? He's still a young buck, and so far his career has been excellent. Won only a few trophies. That trophy with Newcastle is on the horizon. Maybe it's the Carabao Cup final. Who knows? But he's their main man and talisman, and I think at the moment he will firmly be stuck to the Premier League, just because where else does he go? Yeah, I know I've said Real Madrid and Barcelona, but do they really need him at the moment? Can they even afford him, say Barcelona? There's maybe Liverpool if they was to somehow bid for him, but realistically at the moment his team can play good football, and when they're on top, they can beat anyone. I think where he's fitted in, especially at Newcastle, has been excellent. So for him to go to another league wouldn't really make sense at this point. I could potentially see him in a dreamland going to Liverpool, but do Liverpool want to spend 100 mil on Isak when Nunes hasn't worked? Who knows? It's a totally different ballgame. They're two different players. But for me, he stays at Newcastle and wins them a trophy and stays there for a couple more years. Whether his head gets turned later on in life, we'll have to see that. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't predict the future. But overall, Alexander Isak so far for Newcastle has been their main man. He started off with Wilson, and obviously Wilson's had his injuries, but now he is that number 9. Obviously, almost, how many games did he score consecutively? Was it 9? Incredible stuff, and just an absolute powerhouse. Really got Newcastle who had a tough start to the season, back up into those fighting for those European spots. Incredible stuff. Isak is the man, and Isak has proved that you can do anything. And I believe he is destined to lead the Geordies to at least a trophy or two. See you later. Ta-ra.